Welcome to Daggers and Shadow Daddies.
We're your hosts, Ryan and Adriana.
Buckle up, Buttercup.
This is a reread of Fourth Wing and Iron Flame as we prepare for the book Onyx Storm. This podcast is all vibes, no facts. Spoilers ahead. She is constantly thinking about boys.
To be fair, so is Feyre. Just Feyre's doing it differently. She's just admiring their muscles all the time. Every time a new dude walked in, she was like, his muscles. I will never forget about hearing about the bandolier across his bare chest. And I'm like, his nipples must be chafing. No?
This isn't about Feyre. This is about Violet now.
Violet, nipples must be chafing?
Oh my
Is that what you're saying?
No.
Oh, I got confused. Sorry. Sore nips on the mind. Dragon scales rubbing me wrong.
Ew.
You didn't think about that?
No.
Like wearing a leather vest.
I have no words. I have no words for you.
Oh, okay.
We know where your mind is at.
Right now, leather and nipples.
Yeah, stop it.
Because you're in the right mood for these books.
Yeah, clearly.
That's the mood. That is it. That's what the next one's going to be. Onyx Storm, and after Onyx Storm, it's just leather and nipples.
Oh my
By
God.
Rebecca Yarros.
So far, no scenes, but she wants Dane so bad.
And she wants Xaden.
She does. She doesn't want to, but she does.
Yeah, well, when she sees him, do you remember what she first says when she sees him?
I don't remember what she first says. I remember she gets the rundown of stay away from Xaden Riorson. She's like, deal. 10 minutes later, she's like, fuck.
And then she hears somebody call him Xaden, and she's like, oh, damn it. But up until then, before anybody says anything, she's just like, oh my God, Amira, look at his ass. And now you're like, whoa, calm down, Violet. You don't know it yet, but you're going to.
Chapter 1 starts with her mom and her sister fighting and arguing. I missed so much when I first listened to this chapter. I think when I got this book, I just randomly picked it on Libby as an audiobook because it looked really popular and the line was really long, so I assumed it must be a really good book. And I just played it while falling asleep. I was always so confused why people kept talking about Violet's hair the first time. Now I understand.
Did you not know?
No.
No matter how short she cut her hair, the life seemed to leave it at the same point. Blah, blah, blah. You don't remember that?
No. I was completely blindsided by all the comments and why they always drew her with hair like an ombre with the silver. I'm like, wow, that's so cool that all the fan art artists agree on drawing her hair that way. And I mean,
it is true still.
I had no clue where it came from.
It just so happens that the author kind of told them, and then they all were like, I guess we'll draw it that way.
I just was so confused. And there was a interview with Rebecca Yarros where she talks about Violet's hair and that might come up in the next book. And I'm like, oh, I think I need to educate myself. I don't think this is a coincidence anymore that she has silver ends in her hair.
2 books. Hold on. So, do you have a theory about what happened with her hair? I do.
I would love to hear it. I know that in this chapter, they talk about it came from a fever while her mom was pregnant. Her mom's fever while her mom was pregnant. And that her mom still brings it up 20 years later, which is really weird.
No, you got to dig deep, baby girl. Come on.
What is it?
It's a Rebecca Yarros book. There's hidden things in here.
What do you think?
Oh, I 100% think her mom was fighting a venom, and her mom was having the energy sucked out of her, and then somebody came through, murked the venom, whether that be her dragon or her dad or whomever happened to be around, murked the venom as she was pregnant with Violet. And then they're like, the fever got to her. I don't think it was a fever. And that's why it's described as her hair seems to lose life, basically, as it goes out, as it fades to silver. It's not gray, it's silver.
But wouldn't her mom have pulled that same power right before she died at some point to survive? If her mom did it once before, wouldn't she do it again?
I don't think her mom was becoming venom. I think the venom was attacking her mom, and the venom draw the life out of things, the life energy out of things, right? That's why the barren lands
then why
come from are all barren.
Why would her mom bring it up so passive aggressively?
In what way did she bring it up?
I guess I thought her mom had an attitude. She's like, that damn fever, get rid of your hair. Why do your stupid...
She said it doesn't matter how short she cuts her hair. The life seems to leave it at the same place.
Yeah, but her mom was annoyed by her hair being in the style that it was. This was before her sister redid her hair.
And tied it up into a crown. I think the mom was annoyed by the fact that the hair was just down, right? More or less, styled downward in some way.
Oh.
And she's about to have to try to cross the parapet, and that's kind of a big deal. And the mom's like, hey, why don't you worry less about looking cute and worry more about like surviving the wall that you have to, balance beam your way across.
So far, her mom in these first 5 chapters was the only one who was positive. In a weird way positive, like she was aggressively positive.
Certain.
Yeah, like she knew.
Make it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think she had a lot of faith in her daughter. And what I would also add, something I caught this time that I did not catch the first time, is leading up to this moment, her mom wasn't such an asshole to Violet.
No.
She's like, my mom was much warmer to me. And now she's acting colder because she's going to be, my ranking officer, basically, at Bisgayeth. And her mom's like, hey, after today, I can't treat you special.
But she talks about her history with her mom, that after her dad died, her mom was colder with her. She was like, Brennan's her favorite.
Amira's her twin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I half wondered if her mom just saw too much of her dad in her.
I think her mom saw that she needed to toughen Violet up.
Because she found out the truth No.
I stand by my whole theory, having already read these 2 books just once, so pretty passive. My whole theory is that her dad learned something he wasn't supposed to, and he was murked. The mom became aware of it, is a general, but still is like, well, I don't want him to murk my 2 remaining children. So she plays along in the game a bit. And she's like, hey, how do I keep Violet safe? Because Violet's going to learn all the secrets of the world anyway. Give her a dragon companion that will help keep her safe.
Yeah.
And I think, arguably, if you've got any faith that your kid could survive it and would also get picked by a dragon, it seemed like the right move.
Yeah.
Because I think the scribe life is kind of certain death for old Violet.
She said that her dad's heart issue began after her brother died. That was another thing I didn't catch, because it took forever to figure out again after this moment how her dad died. Heart issue.
Broken heart.
Yeah. Not buying it.
No, me neither. And did you catch how long ago it was?
No.
A year.
A year ago.
Mm-hmm. From the start of the book, it was about a year.
Oh, so Brennan's been gone. Brennan's been gone for 3 years, right?
Yeah, as of the end of this book, I believe.
Yeah.
Which I think this book primarily takes place over the course of 6 months or 8 months, something like that. Nearly a year.
I thought it was nearly a year.
That's what I mean. It's somewhere in there, I think. I don't exactly know how long their school training, whatever.
They start diving into it, talking about the season, and I zoned out. It was boring again. I did not have I was leaving that up to you.
For which one?
For everything that's coming up.
So it takes 3 years to graduate.
Yeah, I know that.
But they don't specify, like, do you get a kind of a summer break, so to speak?
No, they do. They do. So they get like a week off, and that's all it is. Yeah. So this is a year-long program. They got a week off, and then they started up in year 2, because when she started year 2, Xaden left the week. He barely even made it to her graduation or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Or I just have a terrible memory and we're about to be reminded here soon.
Who's to say?
Need a disclaimer there. This is based off of a very foggy memory. So we find out about Dad. It's a heart issue. Violet does not identify as a rider, and I only pointed that out to show her attitude changing and when it changes. She doesn't identify as a rider, but she also doesn't seem as resistant as everybody else is. She seems to have accepted it a lot sooner than I would have expected her to if it was such a shock.
Yeah, but remember, she wasn't just told about it today.
Yeah, for about 6 months.
She's been training for 6 months. Yeah, she's been training for 6 months, and also she knows her mother. And when her mom said, "You will be there, or I will drag you in there myself," like, that was a moment that I didn't remember hearing the first time through.
Ooh, I also have the note. At this point, I think Mom might know about this, but Dad knew about Andarna, and...
You got that in these first 5 chapters?
No, I didn't get that from the first 5 chapters. I was just remembering that Andarna already knew about Violet at this point, and so did Dad, knowing about... Well, Dad's obviously dead, but maybe Mom knew about everything with Andarna. I was just pointing it out. There's nothing there to it.
You're good. I was just trying to think of a way I could tie that back into the first 5.
Nothing.
Yeah, I got nothing yet.
I wanted to talk about the dragon scales and how she got the armor from her sister who had a friend who can make things small and very, very large.
He can make large things small and small things much larger. How many dudes has Violet been with?
I don't know.
2. Says in the first 5 chapters of this book. I've got it all.
Wow, what a great catch. Well, I was just going to bring up how the sister, whoever this dude is,
can grow his penis enormously.
But wouldn't he do it before he showed her? Like, why did he show, this is me, regular, this is me now? Wouldn't he just be like, this is just me all the time?
Yeah, but imagine, this is much funnier if he actually just has an enormous hog and he shrinks it down sometimes so people will be surprised when he unshrinks. What if his power isn't actually growing things at all? It's just shrinking and then returning them to normal size and be like, holy shit, you have a horse cock. He's like, I have growth power. I think it's not really, he just has a horse cock. That once when he shrinks down to regular size. That's what I would do if I was him. Honestly, it'd be hilarious. Be like, oh, look at me, just being a regular size Rudy over here. Just do. And then ba-bam-o. And you're like, oh, my growth powers.
My God.
Okay. Sorry. Other side note, though. I also want to bring this guy up for different reasons. Why isn't this power of being able to shrink and grow things ever used outside of right now?
We don't.
Somebody with this shrinky-dink power, right? Why the fuck are you struggling to move things anywhere? This dude could shrink things down, arguably reducing the mass, right? Also.
What if... Wasn't there like something that was putting out the wards? Like a rock?
Well, the ward stone.
Yeah, why did you make them bigger?
Well, here's the thing. You could, but even then, you wouldn't even need to make it bigger. How about you make the one that you have over here in this corner of the world a little bit smaller? Get it closer to the veil, because that's what powers the ward stones, right? Is the power from the veil, which is given through the dragons, emanates from the wardstone. And why the wardstone that is in Basgiath is so close to the veil is for that proximity, and why it's a round barrier, basically, right? The wards are round. My whole thing with this is, yeah, why wouldn't you have just moved the other wardstone much closer to the dragons, have them work on it there, and then you could have this guy pack this thing back into a tiny little size, take it right back to where you were before, and kablamo, horsecock that thing, it's big again. The world is as it ought to be. I just don't understand. He could shrink down the venom. You could put him in shoeboxes.
Oh, that would be hilarious.
This is the thing. Why? The dragons should be terrified of this man. He could take... How do you know how powerful a dragon is? Do you remember?
No.
Just the size of the dragon. What makes... Shit, not the king. The general... What's
Melgren.
No. Not Melgren. This guy's got Coda, the biggest, blackest dragon. Maybe it is Melgren? The one that can see the battle?
Yeah, I think it's General.
Is that Melgren?
Yeah.
I got that confused with somebody else. I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. You're right. It'd be General Melgren. Point is, either way. So he's got the biggest, gnarliest dragon, right? This guy could just shrink that down to like a hamster-sized dragon. And now his dragon rules them all. Like, now there's just all these little pipsqueaky dragons just meep, 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 meep.
Well, I think we've now learned why that guy is not a more prevalent character in
I feel
the
like he didn't ever need to be a character at all.
He could have just not
The
existed.
whole point was so that she could be like, he can make his penis huge. Yeah, he can make dragon scale small and penises large. You're like, okay, there's probably women floating around that campus that can make penises large. Like, he's not that special. You know what I mean? There's men around there floating around that could do it too. I mean, I'm not spitting on anybody's flavor.
Oh my God.
I'm just
Well, you
pointing out.
just dissected the book with one signet. No.
That one should be illegal is all I'm saying.
That shouldn't be
Of all the signets where we're like, oh, we're murdering people because they can read minds. What about this guy? He shrunk everybody in the campus. Now they're all small, toddler-sized people. A swift breeze came and blew them away. Like,
What?
you know,
I think I know the answer to this question.
okay.
His dragon isn't that big and he's not that powerful. He can only do it
To his penis.
to one item at a time.
And he chooses his penis most of the time.
I don't think that whoever this dude is has the power to make that many people tiny. And they also have a limit on how much they can use it. So if he were to shrink one venin, a second venin, I don't think he's going to get too much farther after that.
Start
And,
squishing him.
and I think they have...
But I gotta step on him. I don't know, man. You don't need to keep them all alive. They're venom. It's fucking done. No, that's not where we're at with it.
You're done.
All I'm saying is,
Lord.
this gets me to the duck thing, right? Like,
A duck-sized horse or...
yeah, but then you do it with, everybody's saying like, oh, how many 5-year-olds do you think you could take in a fight? And people always go like, oh, unlimited 5-year-olds. Like, I couldn't beat unlimited 5-year-olds, but like 40 pretty easy. And I feel like this guy,
Like 40 of them.
5-year-olds, like regular size 5-year-olds. Yeah, I think I could take 40 5-year-olds easily and give me 2 full kindergarten classes. They may start to overpower me by the last couple, but if I get to just take them on one at a time, yeah, it's until I run out of steam or I don't even care at that point. But I think all at one time, I think 40, yeah. And I think if this guy approached Venom that way, where they're like, our magic, and he's like, shrinks them down and they just, just starts flicking them out. Like, done. I don't know, man. I'm just saying. There could be something done. We could even combine things. He shrinks them, another guy freezes them. So now they're just in little ice cube trays.
You're done. You're done talking about this
I love this
signet.
book so much more than the last few. This signets are so much fun.
You are going to continuously bring up the signet every time you would find it useful.
Sorry.
Unfortunately, he's not that powerful. He can only do it on a few things. And they
Scales
must...
and penis. Those are the only 2 things
Yup.
he's mastered.
Yep. That's it. That explains all of this.
Yes, it does. I'm so sorry.
It maintains the fantasy.
I'm just having a different fantasy than you are.
Captain Fitzgibbons sees Violet at the sign-up. Who is he? He was shocked to see her.
Yeah, so Captain Fitzgibbons is the head of the scribes, and he thought that Violet was going to be a star pupil. She was supposed to be like the future of all scribes, right? Because her dad was evidently prolific scribe. She'd been trained since birth.
What about Professor Markham later?
I think he's also one of those people. Maybe I'm wrong.
One's a leader over the other. I don't know.
Wait a minute. Okay, so Kaori, Markham.
I don't have Kaori on here. Dang it. I need to be writing these things down.
Yeah, well, I just bragged that I knew who everybody was and now immediately fell on my face because I forgot about
Either way,
General
Melgrim. Either way, he was there. He was surprised. I couldn't figure out if he is a traitor later or not, but I think it's the other guy. I think it's Markham. She switches her boot. This I did catch the first time listening through of what if she died and you just lost your boot?
Oh, you mean then you're down one boot?
Yeah.
Well, you can go retrieve it. She's not falling off an endless cliff. She's falling like 80 feet to her death. If it's that big of a deal, I guess you go rinse the boot out. But, I mean, arguably, I think I'd be a little more tore up about the fact that you just developed kind of a companion and they fell to their death. I'd worry about the shoes later. That's just me.
I think in that situation, I feel really bad, but I would
want my boot back.
I would want my boot back, and I would be so selfish. I wouldn't be making friends. I would be listening to Mira's advice. I'm like, yep, none of you are friends.
You would not. You can't. You're the most reluctantly. You are the most social human being. Like, I adore you to pieces, and I think in your mind you're like, I don't need to make no friends. I've seen you interact with even people with whom you are not aiming to make friends with. You cannot help it. You're like, oh, they'll bring up something that you know something about, and you'll be like, wait a minute, I'm here to help. Luckily, I'm here.
Lucky for you, I know something.
Lucky for you, I'm me. You just barge right in there. Like, I'm chatty and you are friendly. They're different things. But you are also the woman that would go get your boot off that body. You'd be like, God damn it. As she's falling, you'd be like, aim for the head. You're like, don't fuck up my shoes. I think I could 100% see you being like, oh my God, you guys hear about her? So where did they take her? Hey, they didn't say anything about her shoes, did they? You know what they do with everybody's shoes, or are they just like, can just anybody go get them? Is that fine? Like, I would love that for you in this story of Violet Sorrengale.
Retrieve shoe.
She was raised to be a scribe, but born to be a cobbler. She cares for footwear far more than anyone else. It really was just to get your shoe, but now 3 years later, you still have to pretend like you just want dead people's shoes so that nobody knows what you were doing. You've just got 150 pair of eclectic shoes. The whole dorm is just littered with your footwear.
Anyways, this is where she gets the rundown that she needs to avoid Xaden. Stay away from him. Stay far, far away.
This happens before the shoes.
I don't even know. But then this is when she sees Xaden, though. And she's just, fuck this man. He's so fine.
No. Do you know the band The Zombies?
No.
They do Time of the Season, that song.
Yes.
The intro to that boom, dum, dum.
Boom, boom, boom.
That's 100% what I was thinking of. As she like sees Xaden, it's just that music, just the intro.
She turns her head, and he's just flexing his jaw.
Like, give it to me easy. And then he's just, and she's like, his jaw flexed. And I'm like, how the fuck are you noticing that? And she's gonna bring that up a lot. His favorite talking about pecs. Violet is all about that jaw.
She is, and when I look up potential Xaden Riorson actors for a live
they all
show,
are showing you how they can flex their jaw.
No, they're not. I look at them and I'm just like, you don't look like you could flex your jaw in a way.
Who's an actor who could do that?
I don't remember.
In a satisfying way.
I did find a guy and I tried texting it to you, and then I didn't.
Distract.
No,
The jaw flexing. You're like, I get it now. Violet's onto something.
There was a top 10 and I just didn't think they had the jaw to look like it was flexing on camera. So
I frankly don't know what that would be.
I don't know.
I think I've seen people do it because I can imagine it, but it seems like something Henry Cavill could do. But Henry Cavill would not make a good Xaden Riorson. He's far too Caucasian.
Okay, I found the website that had a top 10. It's Screen Rant. And the guy that I thought looked like his jaw could flex very well and be a Xaden Riorson is Taylor Zakar Perez.
I want his jaw flex, though.
He
doesn't look like, I mean, he's got a very sharp jawline.
He does.
But he's also, I don't know, man. I don't know that I could see his jaw flex. He doesn't have enough mass.
No.
To flex your jaw requires a lot of, facial muscle.
No, he just looked like he would fit Xaden. That was it.
I don't know why. I picture Xaden being more built.
He probably is.
Because he's described, how tall is Xaden Riorson?
6'4".
6'4". Built like an Adonis. Okay, all right.
Oh, sorry. Just scrolling over here.
I noticed we're an audio medium and you're still just... Oh, there's
scrolling.
Find Xaden Riorson. That's okay. I'm going to look for chafed nipples over here.
All right, your leather and nipples.
That's what I'm at. Yeah. Chafed. I'm Googling chafed nipples.
Chapter 2, Storm Worsens. There is a fan theory out there that the mom may have done this.
Just to reduce competition?
Oh, no, to make it more challenging or something like that.
There's no way through either of these books that we get the impression that she does not want Violet to succeed, especially given she used her one favor she could call in, which we don't know about yet in the first 5 chapters, but eventually she calls in the favor to Xaden Riorson.
Yeah. Yeah,
his whole job is to protect her.
We can give spoilers in this.
Oh, good. Spoiler.
Warning.
Mom is a reluctant asshole who wants her daughter to succeed.
Yeah.
Beyond everything else, she affords Violet every opportunity to succeed. She's just an asshole about it. I can't think of an area where she actually is hampering Violet.
No, and a lot of it is just Violet's view of her mother, not actual mom's actions that we see. Mom's actions are stern, but not... So far, she has not shown any sign of thinking that Violet won't make it.
Yeah, well, she specifically says Violet will make it.
Yeah.
And then she does everything she can. The only thing Violet has to do on her own is cross parapet. Beyond that point...
What? There's assassination attempts.
Yeah, and Xaden Riorson is literally there to protect her. He shows up even when they're out looking for dragons. Xaden is not supposed to be out there, right? And when she first meets Taryn, Xaden is there, ready to help protect her from the boys who are trying to beat up Andarna.
Yes.
Xaden's whole mission.
Yeah, this is where I'm
alive.
So happy to be rereading this after knowing all of this, because you get such a different outlook. I just didn't see any of this.
Xaden does still come across like a dick even the second time at first, where you're just like, oh, yeah, he's not doing this because he wants her. He's doing this because that's the contract.
Yes. So we meet Barlow. He's pissy.
He murders a dude immediately.
Yeah. He's just an asshole.
Which dude do you remember?
Nathan. Nolan.
No, it's okay. We're not going to have to remember his name.
Well,
but do you remember what his story was?
Sad.
Okay, I feel like you don't remember.
I don't remember anything.
So, one of the advantages the writers get is being able to marry sooner than other people, right? Evidently, marriage laws, for whatever reason, are a crazy thing in, what's this country's name again? It starts with an N or something. Navarre. There we go. So, evidently, marriage laws in Navarre are pretty steep. So, good news, though. If you go to be a writer, you can marry a year after graduation or something like that, right? And that's because if you live that long, they're like, hey, you earned it. Good luck. So he's like, my lady and I planning on getting married. And so I joined the writers thing so that I can marry her sooner. They're like, oh, so sweet. He's so romantic.
Oh my God. And then he just falls off the parapet.
He doesn't fall.
He was yeeted.
He's yeeted off by Jack Barlow.
Oh.
The man who refuses to die.
Well, my notes were different. Clearly, I'm not thinking of that stuff.
I felt that guy, he needed a better ending. And they're like, no, Violet's the one with plot armor. Nobody else gets it. Watch this. They just shoved him off the hill.
I found it really clever how we get to learn about the history of Navarre and the surrounding areas, because it's Violet's comfort in stressful situations is to just recite facts or details from her studies. And I just was taking a moment to appreciate how clever that is to just tell the audience what's going on.
Yeah.
And it solidifies her being a bookworm. Like, it adds to her character, too.
I completely agree. Do you remember any of the stuff she rattled off?
So I have a Ask Ryan if he remembers, because he's read it 3 times.
No.
Oh, man, really?
Yeah, like I remember bits and pieces, but nothing I'm confident enough to say out loud.
It was really kind of about the surrounding areas signing the agreements. And we learned later that a lot of these places lost their culture with this becoming a united.
Yeah, because Navarre sort of absorbed them.
Yeah.
Like Tyrandor and, oh my gosh, where is her buddy is from?
I don't remember.
Tyrandor's where all the shit started, right?
Yeah.
The Tears Rebellion started a bunch of stuff. Hence why Xaden Riorson is sort of a pariah, because he's the oldest living child. Xaden got a scar for each one, right? I think it's 172, 168. I don't remember. There's a bunch of marked ones. They did this to supposedly curb the idea of, like, hey, don't rebel against us, or we'll murder you in front of your children, right?
Yeah.
And then we're going to mark your children as pariahs also. How can you come away from that being like, we're the good guys?
It makes me think of that scene of, are we the baddies?
Yes, what's his name?
Mitchell?
David Mitchell. Thank you. Anyway, point is,
nobody had a moment of,
we're the baddies.
Are we the baddies? We got skulls literally on our badge or on our shirts.
I think that I don't even remember where this was going.
We were...
I
don't know where we were going with this. I guess we'll just switch. Sorry if we...
my bad. I steered us so far to the left. We kind of made a circle, and I think I went left further, and I lost the plot a little.
Chapter 3, many of you will die, but it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Why did I write that?
Lord Farquaad. So, I think I told you to write that down because the way, so after Parapet, right, they go up to they have like the meeting with all the people, right, that have successfully made it across or something like that. And the guy's like, many of you will die. They don't issue them flight leathers even.
Oh, yeah, but it's going to be totally worth it. And it seems just ridiculous.
Like, we're not going to give you things like your own dorm, like an independent room. Right now, you live in dorms. You don't get flight leathers because we're not wasting the good clothes when at least 2/3 of you guys are on your way out, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing that really blows my mind, though. So there's no reason that they have to die during Parapet. None. They could have they could have just had a net or something.
And you just don't go.
You just don't qualify.
Leave.
Yeah. I mean, fuck, make it a 20-foot drop even before they hit the net. Maybe they break a leg, so there's still some stakes. But, you don't make it. Cool beans. Check them off the list. You're no longer eligible. But they act like the whole reason the dragons respect him is because they should die if they fuck up. And you're like, but then a bunch of them still get cooked. That didn't prove anything to anybody.
I loved, and I think this is in the next book, when the Griffin Riders pointed out, they're just like, oh, if you don't make it, you just get caught and you just try again later.
Yeah, and I would argue it's another area where Basgiath is really just unnecessarily brutal.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be. And the way it's painted in these first 5 chapters is it's all in preparation for you to seem worthy to a dragon.
Yeah, well, all of the world building up until that moment of meeting the Griffins and the Griffin Riders and their whole culture, it feels like this is normal in this world. Like, in this world, there are other places that are probably like this. And a lot of it is learning how not normal it is.
Is it though? Like, here's my thing. I can understand that the dragons and the griffins are not the same, right? The dragons are a very prideful creature. They don't admit to mistakes. They truly believe themselves to be the most highly evolved life form out there. The griffins are objectively worse creatures.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, they have a lot more limitations.
Yeah, their magic kind of sucks. They can't fly very high. Like, altitude's an issue, which is a shitty issue to have for something that is kind of like supposed to fly. You know what I mean? Like, if they said, well, they can't hold their breath very long, so they're not great swimmers, you'd be like, oh, that kind of sucks for them. The dragons could swim longer. But they're both just a flying creature, but one of them is like, I cap out at about 5,200 feet. Like, what is happening? You're a plane. Get in the sky, you fuck. Like, I think that's the funniest thing, too. Imagine you have this creature that lives in this area where it's surrounded by mountains that are too tall for it to fly over.
Oh, that's so sad.
It's like a natural barrier. Like, it's so wild. And the dragon's just like, nana nana boo boo. And they go back home. You're like, what the fuck's happening? They're just breathing fire and stuff. It's like cold outside. And they're like, we're warm.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
Well, in chapter 3, she gets across the whole thing with Barlow. She gets her boot back. I make a note of that.
From
her new bestie.
Rhiannon?
Yeah. Rhi.
Yeah.
The first time reading this through, I was so suspicious of her. I thought she was up to something and she was going to backstab Violet. No.
I'm still a little suspicious. I'm to be completely honest.
I think she's proven herself to be a good friend.
Yeah, but a good friend does not always mean that they're always on the up and up.
No, they're besties.
Okay.
And they're staying besties.
All right.
Dane arrives and she is instantly thirsty.
He flexed his jaw at her.
Yes. First time seeing him since he's gained a power. And I am making it a point to pay attention to every single time he touches her. He says he can only do it when he touches someone's temples at this point. But he touched her back and elbow 2 times in these first couple chapters. I don't know if he has a small amount of power. I don't even know if her elbow is exposed because I'm assuming he has to touch skin.
I'm not that suspicious of Dane in the beginning of this. I don't think he's looking for hidden information. He seems hyper fixated on getting her the fuck out of the dragon rider section.
His power is still incredibly new to him. I don't think that it's out of maliciousness that he would do it. I think it's something that would just happen.
He says it requires a lot of concentration, doesn't he?
I think to get something from it useful is, I guess, what I took it as.
And again, it's only recent memory.
Yes.
He can do this with.
Yes.
He kind of lists off all the limitations as to explain away why he's not a dead intrinsic.
I didn't realize he told Violet so quickly because he already was told that he has it's a secret signet.
It's classified.
Yeah. But he already told her. Again, the first time reading this through, I was not paying that much attention in the beginning because I wasn't even sure I was going to continue listening to this book at this point. But incredibly thirsty.
He's gotten taller and more muscles.
Handsome.
Yeah.
I see him as like a clean-cut dude. I don't know.
So far, I think we're on the same page.
Like a goody two-shoe.
Okay, now pretend you're describing him because he just robbed somebody to a police sketch artist. Give me something more than clean cut. He's a man and goody two-shoe.
I don't know. He just kind of gave off Mormon vibes.
I think you've nailed it.
Yeah.
Brown, sandy, curly hair or something like that, right? Brown, curly hair.
I don't know. I'm just going to picture him in a white shirt, black skinny tie, and that's Dane for the rest of this.
Oh, he's wearing black. They're all wearing rider black. She even says you can wear whatever you want as long as it's black.
Well, I can change any details.
Oh, okay, you're right. It's a skinny tie. And again, he's yoked. It's important to keep that in mind.
We'll put him in a black button-up and a skinny tie.
Why is he wearing a tie? Billy, you're really holding on to his tie thing. And I'm just like, oh, this guy's out here to fight shit with dragons. And you're like, but he's business casual. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? The fuck is happening? He's getting chafed nips with his leather vest.
And at this point, Xaden, I think, knows about Dane's signet. Yes or no?
I think Xaden does because he's actually an intrinsic.
Right? That's where I wondered if he did know about this, about Dane.
Yeah, and I think what's weird is knowing what we know about Xaden, it makes his interactions with Dane, it kind of makes Xaden the asshole.
Yeah.
Because he can read Dane's interactions where Dane's intention is to keep Violet safe, right?
Yeah, he should know this.
He does. And he's like, my job is to keep Violet safe. And then he decides to be an asshole. And you're like, I liked you more when I thought you were kind of clueless. Like, what the fuck is happening?
Dane takes her to his room, wraps her knee, and there's sexual tension between them.
Yeah, a little bit. Other than he turns around so she can wiggle out of her pants because they're skin tight, so you can't wrap it, obviously.
And just feigning the whole, oh, don't act like it's a big deal. We've been friends forever. And she shimmies out of it, and he's like, oh my God.
Yeah, I think he's more like, yeah, last time I saw your ass, we were 3. Like, let's chill out. The other thing I think is a little funny, then Violet is just like, oh, you don't want it to be weird that you brought somebody into your room. I'll just moan a little so they can hear how awesome you are. And she's like, and I was only kind of joking. And I'm like, why would you just want that to be loud? Like, where she's like, I can moan your name. Did you remember this part?
Yeah, I do. I remember finding it
weird then.
Entertaining her confidence with...
I think she knows she's hot.
Yeah.
She's just like, I'm frail but sexy.
Yeah.
She keeps that feeling until she meets Kat. And then she's like, I mean, I'm frail and okay looking. And then she meets Kat. She's just like, never mind.
Yeah, so I have the note. She's so forward and confident with her flirting. I love it. I think it's great. It's entertaining. Feels like she breaks the fourth wall to tell us things sometimes.
Yeah.
The way things are worded kind of feels like it's just a statement to us. And I don't know what to think. I don't know if I'm reading into it or not.
No, not necessarily. I have a bit of an answer for this, which also leads me into a question. I'd like to read something for you.
Yes, please bring out the Fourth Wing Bible.
Yes. In Xaden's name we pray. Amen. This is the very first thing you read in this book. This applies to this entire book as far as I'm aware. It says, the following text has been faithfully transcribed from Navarian into the modern language by Jacinia Nilwart, curator of the Scribe Quadrant at Bisgayath War College. All events are true, and names have been preserved to honor the courage of those fallen. May their souls be condemned to Malik. All of this was written by Jacinia, transcribed by her. It seems like she has an awful lot of insight into Violet's thoughts and feelings. And Violet shouldn't have been quite as forward with Jacinia on some of the things she was experiencing or thinking, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's just the way some of it is worded. It feels like Violet is thinking. And what is something with the word bird, this TV show with bird in it? She has an accent and she would break the fourth wall and look at the camera.
No, you're thinking of Fleabag.
It reminds me of where she's talking and thinking and she just turns to the camera and makes a statement. It's not that obvious, but there were just some moments that it just felt a little bit like that. And I wrote down this note when she's going down the stairs with Dane and she talks about what's going on around her in a way that it was almost to us instead of for herself.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Just a small thing. Dane tries to make her escape. There's cadets from all over. I thought reading the first time that the cadets were from this local area. They are actually from everywhere around this island, continent.
Yeah, I think it's all Navarre because they talk about Poor Meal, but that's where the Griffin Riders and stuff are from.
And they're definitely not a part of this.
Yeah, and the Barons obviously aren't a part of this.
Maybe this is a map after things have changed, like locations where they say they're from different areas.
No, I mean, there's different, like Brevik is a province.
Yes, that's what I was
Ceres is a province of Navarre.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking of.
Calder, Tyrandor, Moraine, Deaconshire, Eastlam.
So she obviously doesn't leave, and she kind of pushes Dane back a little bit. And I really like that this was her starting to identify as a rider because she passed the parapet.
Yes.
And she's starting to feel like she kind of wants this also. So she joins formation. Panchek is speaking. We don't know his signet. And I tried Googling this. It's unknown, even to the internet. So it's not something that just wasn't shared yet and that I don't remember. I don't think we know. There are 3 squads in a section and 3 sections in 4 wings.
4 wings, 3 sections, 3 squads.
Yeah.
Right, from the broadest to the narrowest.
And I think compared to our military, that's like a battalion size, because you'll have a battalion, a company, and then essentially 4 sections that I can't even think of the actual.
Squads.
Yeah, and then your
Squad, battalion, company. Yeah.
I half wondered, does Rebecca Yarros have a battalion formation guide and mark off cadets as they're killed off to maintain formations?
That would be really cool. What I would love to is the idea of like mid-year, you end up having to do like, oh, we're going to do wing reorganization because we've lost so many. We're reallocating people in lieu of it just being prizes. Well, we did this the second year, as I recall. I don't believe we did it within the same year. I think when they went to second year is when they were put in different wings and different blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So she is in the proverbial
4th wing. She gets switched over.
4th wing. And then what is it? What is her whole detail? Do you remember?
Don't know.
Okay.
What is it?
I don't remember.
Oh, you were actually asking.
I sincerely, I don't. Like I said, I can't take notes when I listen. And then she talks about them. I thought she was in 4th wing, dragon. No, what was it? Tail section, flame squadron, something like that.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
I think some with flame in it. So the dragons arrive. When first reading, I didn't know that the dragons could talk in any way, and I was curious how that was going to go because she would talk about their personalities. Dragons don't like this or this or this. I'm like, how do we know all these things? It doesn't seem
keep crisping people until they get it right.
Because I didn't think that they could talk at that point, but it reminded me of the Braveheart movie. I don't know how old I was when that came out, but that is like a core memory in my mind, the dragon talking and dying.
So that movie's not called Braveheart.
Oh, what's it called?
I want you to real quick.
Oh my God. You're right. No, I feel so stupid.
Just Google Braveheart.
I know
movie.
what Braveheart is now.
Remember when Mel Gibson just one last breath of fire and he just passed out?
I got the main. God damn it. What is the dragon one though? Mel Gibson dragon movie.
First of all, Mel Gibson's not in this. Mel Gibson is in Braveheart. That's why I was making the Mel Gibson joke. Mel Gibson, I think, directed and starred in Braveheart.
What movie am I thinking of that I would think that it was Mel Gibson and a dragon while the he like takes the heart, dragon heart. That is what it fucking is, because they had to share a heart in it, right? He has like a half human, half dragon heart.
His left side is often numb. Oh, shit. Watch that not be the name of the movie. Maybe I got it wrong.
It is 1996 movie.
Yeah. I also remember that movie, but I love that you went with It's Braveheart.
I knew I was close with a heart.
You were.
Why did I think Mel Gibson? Who is the main guy in this? Dennis Quaid. To childhood me, that was the same guy.
Really?
I don't know.
What I love the most, so when you look at Dennis Quaid too, think of The Boys. You know Huey from The Boys?
Yeah.
That's his dad.
They look similar, but I think Huey...
He's got a lot of Meg Ryan in him too.
Yeah, he looks a lot like Meg Ryan.
But interesting, because that's not even his mom. No, I'm just teasing.
Stop it.
I'm messing with you.
Well, anyways.
Sorry.
I'm going to change that note.
No, you leave that note. Leave that note. It's so funny to me.
At this point, originally, I wondered how she knew dragons wouldn't admit to being wrong, but we obviously know how they talk and we learn about dragons. Sigale, we didn't know who this was initially, but Sigale brings this scene up later when she meets Violet.
She sniffs Violet up.
Yeah. Why would she sniff Violet? Why would she remember Violet?
Because her dragon rider is sworn to protect her.
Thank you.
Period.
Thank you. Okay, I was trying to make sense of it. I was just going to start blaming fate or something and making stuff up.
No, I mean, you could make that argument, I guess.
Chapter 4, it's a rundown of what the year will look like. This is where I said earlier it got a little boring, them explaining what their year is going to look like. I got a little lost. I know action's coming.
Yeah, every minute, honestly. I love this book.
We meet Sawyer and Riddick.
Mm-hmm.
I was so clueless. Again, I didn't realize how quickly we were introduced to them.
Riddick's a funny little guy.
Yes.
Gets
And
beat down by a woman.
yeah, he's like, I don't want to hurt you. And she's just like, please.
They hurt me, baby. And he's kind of into it. You know, he's like, muscle mommy. Yeah.
You're trying to make that a thing.
You don't think that's a thing?
It is now.
I think it has been. I'm not one of the people into it, but there's no way there's this many female bodybuilders. Like, more people attend those competitions, I think, than WNBA games. And it's not because they're a champion of the female sport. They're just like, yeah, squish me in them thighs.
Continuing on.
Trying.
Dane and Violet speak bird. Grabs her elbow, worries about assassination. No thoughts?
Grabs her elbow and then worries about assassin.
Oh, they're just random notes. In this scene, Dane calls her with like his bird whistle, and he grabs her elbow. So I just noted that. And they talk about how...
I don't think he's able to read her mind from grabbing her elbow. I stand by this.
I don't think so either. But I think one day he will, and it's going to be suspicious. Or when he touches her face. I think he touches her chin at one point, but I still want to be paying attention.
I think he does end up touching her face, because she will later on go to describe, Dane takes my face in his hands, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like when he's concerned for her. And I think then it could be argued that is what's happening. I wouldn't doubt that.
I'm on
but I don't believe every elbow touch. I can see that. You are killing it.
Yeah.
And he's still trying to convince her, like, hey, don't be here. She's like, but I have to be here. He's like, well, and you'll be safe with me. And Xaden's like, the fuck she will. But he does baby her. I do not like how I can understand him wanting to coddle her to a certain extent. But if you were really just trying to protect this person whom you care deeply about, the guy who keeps threatening to assassinate her and murder her openly, maybe you go beat his ass.
Yeah, he doesn't do anything about Barlow.
Neither of them do.
Neither of them.
Two people who their whole mission is to do this, and I'm like, hold on. Now, you guys have both done some unscrupulous shit before, I assume. Maybe not. Dane is a pretty clean slate. But Xaden? Sneak a shadow in his room in the middle of the night. Oh gosh, what happened? Oh, he just got SIDS 19 years too late. Like, I don't know. Sorry. Not a good joke.
So, Dane is, like you just said, talking about babying her. Like, you need to be safe. You got to watch out for this stuff. I don't think you should be here. And she pushes back of, I am going to continue on, essentially, and keep doing this. And I have the note of, you want to be a writer, don't you, Violet? Kind of like the SpongeBob thing of, you like Krabby Patties, don't you, Squidward?
I think what really cracks me up, though, I hate that Dane has no faith in her, but arguably it's also so accurate.
To not have faith in her?
Fuck yeah, she's broken just crossing parapet. And she keeps talking about how she got bird bones and stuff. Like, will she make it through? Yes. Would she have made it through if she didn't cheat? No. Especially knowing what we know now. Where she's like, I found ways to secretly poison the people I'm rustling.
It's not cheating, I don't think. It's just different.
Well, it's cheating in the sense of she's getting this information through channels she should not be allowed to have it through.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then you're not supposed to use weapons during this fight. It is combat training, not can I poison you before the combat? And that's the training. It kind of defeats the purpose. So then when she kind of gets her ass kicked later on by the wyvern person, what are they called again? The people that ride the wyvern.
Venom.
When she gets her ass kicked by the venom people, she's like, they're amazing fighters. I'm like, yeah, well, you know what? They probably didn't fuck around and poison people in class. Like, you know what? Yeah. Your can-do attitude and weeks of preparation for each individual fight you were in didn't get you here. I mean, she does train with Xaden and Rihanna and who's the one? I don't think we've been introduced to her yet.
We have been introduced to her.
Okay, good.
She tried stabbing her, and it didn't work out. We just haven't heard her name yet.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why we can't remember her name, because...
But she ends up being a real peach, too.
A real peach.
No, she does. She's a homie.
Yeah, but she takes quite some time to warm up.
Yeah, I think I like him like that.
Angry.
She might be my favorite character right now. We don't even know her name.
At the end of chapter 4, I noted Violet has a spidey sense before seeing Xaden. After this, she's talking with Dane. They're whispering, they're talking. The room's getting louder. People are filling in. And she gets this tingle on the back And she turns and looks at Xaden.
Lightning hit my clitoris. Xaden was right there.
No, I think this is one of those moments where Xaden is using his power on her, and
he's not supposed to be able to throw it out to other people. He, according to his own explanation of his power, he can read other people's intentions. That is it.
Yeah, I was saying that I think she was picking up on being used on her.
What?
By her getting like a little tingle, a spidey sense, and then she turns and she sees him.
Okay, I see what you mean. Maybe she's like very sensitive to it being done. So then wouldn't we, I'm not trying to poke holes in this. I like where you're at because that's going to make the rest of these chapters more fun to listen to. I like where you're at. I didn't pick up on this.
Because it happens, I think, a second time. There's 2 times where she has like a little moment. Like I just wrote it down as a spidey sense of Xaden's nearby.
No, I think you're right. I think it's a really great observation. But I would say if she's so sensitive to magic being used on her, then we can pretty much know that Dane isn't doing dick to her right now.
Yeah, but I think we both agreed that he wasn't using it at this time with her elbow.
We're going to pay very close attention
on high alert.
Her face if she gets any funny spider senses.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
I'm just saying, this is an idea. I like where you're at with it.
So yeah, that was the end of chapter 4. Chapter 5, we get a little snippet of Mama Sora and Gale disagreeing with how the children of the rebellion are going to be treated. And especially watching their parents die. It's not just, we are killing your parents. You are going to watch.
And she says no child should have to watch their parents die. Like, Mama Sorengale is not being an asshole in this situation.
No.
She is being just a mother. And also the general who has to murder all of these people's parents in front of them. Bit of a bummer.
Yeah. I don't think that she did the murdering of the parents. I think it was a dragon that murdered the parents.
Yeah, fine. You know what I'm saying.
But
is that her command or whatever?
It does seem like there was an agenda put out to blame Mama Sorengale for all of this.
Well, I would argue whoever's on ahead of her in authority tells her what to do, and then she carries it out, boots on the ground style.
Yeah.
And I think that it was nice of it that was in there where she's like, no parent or no child should watch their parent die. It does lend a lot to her ending in Iron Flame.
Yes. But I think that document or wherever that little snippet is not actually documented in a way that everybody can read. I think that is a private message or a top secret
correspondence.
Yes. I don't think that is public information.
You could be right.
So chapter 5, it begins with them in class. This is when we meet Professor De Vera and Markham.
Right. Markham was she was going to be his star pupil, blah, blah, blah.
I think this is who betrays later, and Professor De Vera is...
Good.
Yeah. The one that...
Professor De Vera comes back to the rebellion.
That's what I thought.
Yes.
Okay.
She is an absolute rock star.
So there's 2 people teaching this class.
Mm-hmm.
That stood out to me the first time with the book because I was very confused. I was like, what's going on? Why are there 2 names going on? They're both in the class and they're both teaching it. What do you think the point of this class is? When, by understanding, Professor Markham knows everything that's actually going on and he's the one that's changing the information before it comes to that school. He has this class, he's showing this information.
He's redacting things.
Yes, and changing it completely, not just redacting, changing the details. But what do you believe the purpose of this class is to actually train them? Or is it a form of propaganda?
Well, porque no los dos. I think it can be both. In the same way that I think a lot of education can double that way, right? Like...
Explain some more.
Yeah. All right. History classes. Let's just run with you and I. Recently, we listened to TikTok or something like that the other day. I was like, oh, interestingly enough, that whole thing is kind of debunked, right? I don't remember what exactly it was about. Do you remember?
It had to do with old British news, and that was the
There we go, the Boston Massacre.
Yeah.
So think of it this way. The way the Boston Massacre is first taught to people is, hey, you got these British soldiers hanging out. And these colonial patriots are like, hey, get the hell out of here. We don't want you people here. And they eventually just throw enough rocks and sticks and blah, 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 and piss these guys off. And eventually the British soldiers just lose it, and they end up killing 5 people, right, in the crowd. So, number one, what you are learning about is 5 people were killed by British soldiers during the Boston Massacre.
And that part is true.
Yeah. And then the part that is less objectively true is what caused this outburst, right? Was it just the rocks and stuff being thrown and eventually them losing patience? There's also evidence to support, or I should say, anecdotal evidence from the time, right? Personal accounts and whatnot of one of the protesters had fired off a rifle, and the British were like, oh shit, we're under fire. And we're surrounded by this militia of people. So they fired back and 5 people died. The one is meant to propagandize. The first one is meant to propagandize, hey, there we were just being rough and tumble Americans, peacefully protesting these fuckers, other than a couple stones we'd throw, and they decided to lose it and kill us. The reality is, we had people that were guns too. Somebody discharged a firearm that may or may not have been aimed toward the British people, right? So one musket gets discharged. They're like, fuck it, we better fire on them because otherwise we're going to get shot. Both things can be true. They're giving you information in this class to give you information and teach you what you should be processing from it, right? What you should be looking for out of that information. But they're also giving it to you in a way of it's like, this guy is good, other places not good.
Yeah.
Poor meals suck.
And in this class, so Violet is working through the situation and is solving it. She solves it. Oh, yeah, I have a note. This is when she has another tingle before Xaden says something. I don't know. Just has a sense of Xaden's in the room. She knows he's there. Xaden knows the motive already of the Griffins in this attack, right?
Yeah.
Because he's been helping them for more than a year, if I remember correctly. So he already knows the motive, and him answering these questions or asking these right questions to solve this in a way that doesn't give him away, but also kind of points out that the Griffins are looking for supplies, but they're also looking for something. What are they looking for?
What do we have to hide?
Yeah.
Violet does a great job in this of, hey, you said they were an hour of flight away? Oh, weird. Our people were there within an hour? They were already on their way, and Riddick's a dipshit. Or not Riddick,
Barlow.
Jack Barlow's a dipshit because he's like, oh, yeah, but that's how time works. And she's like, half of them would have been sleeping. And also, you'd have to be in the air already to be there in an hour, so on and so forth. It was a weird deal. It seemed like this is probably one of my least favorite chapters because they introduce information, and it seems like everybody except Violet and Xaden are brand new to hearing information and having critical thinking.
Yeah.
It seems like they're the only 2 people in that room outside of the 2 professors that have a couple brain cells to rub together. Because even when it's brought to them, the fact that Ree would even ask this question was so absurd to this instructor, but she's like, now Violet, ask your own questions from now on. Like, we know who's actually the brainy one. And I'm like, it wasn't that incredible of a question.
Oh, no. I think I took that scene as Violet's behavior next to Ree, that she was whispering or leaning over and trying to hide. And they're like, I literally see you, Violet. Just say your question.
Maybe she says, why don't we ask our own questions? Like alluding to the fact that Ree could have never come up with that first question.
Well, they do know Violet very well.
Yeah, but how do they know that Ree's an idiot?
It's not.
They know her well enough yet? Like, I think you could assume like, oh, that's a question Violet could have asked. But you couldn't immediately assume like, that girl's too pretty to be that smart. Hey, dummy. Why don't you let Violet talk? I don't know. I did enjoy this because I like getting the information. It reminded me of the one thing I didn't appreciate about this book, and this was that, oh, don't worry. The only 2 characters that matter are going to matter a lot in this chapter, and nobody else is going to matter that much.
And Xaden's pretty standoffish. He's in here, but not as often as I thought he was initially.
He's antagonistic in every interaction he has with anyone, which I found interesting. They're like, that's why he's our wing leader. I'm like, what? Because he asked a question. He's like, what do we have that they want? And I'm like, okay, we're following along here. And they're like, that's a great wing leader question. I'm like, how dumb are the people normally getting through these exams?
I guess I took it as Xaden was getting a little too close to what needs to be asked and the topic needs to end.
But is it... okay, maybe I misunderstood this, in fairness. I took this as like, when you're a kid and you're like, why are we always going to war with the Middle East? And then you learn about oil markets and you're like, oh, okay, this kind of makes sense. I feel like that's kind of what Xaden was doing, is he was figuring out there's an oil market. But
and Professor Markham is just like, you're a bright kid. No more questions. End of class. We're done. Now we go into fighting.
Which just cracked me up. Where it's just like, oh no, they almost asked a third question.
Stop. No more.
What are they doing with their teaching scribes? Like, those are the smart people. What are those people asking? Or do they just tell them outright, like, our dragons will light your ass up if you ask one more question?
I don't think the scribes question things as much. So when the paper comes in, it gets changed immediately, and the scribes don't question it because of the integrity of being a scribe. You wouldn't change the details. So I don't think they question the right things. Like, is the information being given to me correct? They're just like, this is correct.
You feel like, well, they're teaching them to become scribes. Like, wouldn't you think the scribes are kind of like the brains of the whole operation, right?
I don't think it's critical thinking type skills, though.
Who's doing that then? Because the riders aren't doing it. The scribes aren't doing it. Is infantry doing that? Who are we teaching?
I took it as the riders were doing it because they're trying to figure out the motive behind the attacks. Scribes aren't trying to determine the motive behind the attacks.
But they're not, right?
Their job is to document it.
Yeah, but are they trying to figure out the motive behind this? Because now I'm thinking of like when Violet goes to talk to Mira about like, so the wards, how exactly do they work? And Mira's like, you're not allowed to know. And then just scuttles off. And I'm like, wait a minute. This is how we share information?
I think it's very military coded. You get to know what you're allowed to know, and you don't get to know anything outside of that.
In the military, nobody's the critical thinker?
No, that's
what politicians are doing.
That's day one basic training. You're done thinking, private. You're just going to do push-ups.
I agree, but did you ever have a class like this that you went to daily while you were in training in the military, where they went over not just a debriefing of battles?
Weekly, but we didn't get to think. We were just told.
Well, this is my thing. This is different because I remember my stepdad setting up all these presentations for OCS, right? And there wasn't a Q&A session. It was a 45-minute long PowerPoint of these are the details. This is what you should be thinking about out of all of these details. It wasn't so what do you get from this, so-and-so? Hey, private, what do you get from this? Oh, officer so-and-so, what would you get from this? Like, that's not how it would work. And then why have these long Q&A sessions if you guys aren't wanting them to ask any questions? Like,
oh, I'm following what you're saying, because once they leave the school, they're not going to actually be using any of those critical thinking skills anyways, because they're not allowed to essentially ask those questions.
Right.
Okay, I'm following now.
So this is a pointless exercise because we don't, number one, during the class, we're not actually giving anybody any helpful answers. Everything is, if you have a question that leads to that's classified, that was as much as you were needing to ask. That's the point they want you to get to. But once you leave this classroom, also never ask another question.
Yeah.
So
you have a good point.
Ask questions that you are not allowed to get answers to. And then you're not allowed to use questions anymore.
You're bringing up a good point.
Okay.
It's true.
I was just confused. I'm like, I can't grasp this one thing other than it was just a good time to be like, look how smart Violet is and look at Xaden's her match. Look at him go.
Okay, that's probably the whole point of the scene, was to show how intelligent both of them are.
That's all I got from it. That was the whole thing, is like, look at all the rest of these dummies.
But they continue on with this class doing this procedure, asking these questions.
I know. And we never learn anything more. Like, we're 2 books in. I don't remember anything important coming from this.
I think we might. I don't know. I'm hopeful.
I am too.
What were the Griffin Riders looking for again?
That they said in this chapter?
No, not in this chapter. This is just in general, I can't remember what they were looking for.
Oh, they take the weapons and stuff from the wards.
Oh, that's right.
They don't have a forge.
That's right.
Poor Emil doesn't have a working forge, so they get those weapons and whatnot. And that's how they're able to still fight the venom and the things that prevalently exist in their side of the world.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to have questions that
totally
bring
fine.
back into future things to try to see what was going on this whole
I
time.
am so glad, honestly. I am enjoying this so much. I feel like I know what's happening. I haven't had this for months.
This feels like a series that was intended to be read twice.
Oh man, maybe
At
more. I
the
might go
least.
through this a third time, really.
Because
I love this.
a lot of these details are things that you don't, and nor are you expected to pick up on.
The first time, you couldn't. You don't know what you would pay attention to the first time.
Yeah, I'm super, on edge of catching things with Xaden. Is there a sound of a sound? Is there a sign of a shadow? Is there
Does it
this?
smell like shadows in here? Or did somebody just have beans for lunch?
Well,
It smells like Riorson in here.
What?
It's just Rip Shadow.
Xaden doesn't have a specific smell. I don't think that Violet continuously says.
Now, I can't remember if it was this one or the other book.
The last series.
I know Reese smells of lilacs and...
No, it's like ocean breeze and citrus.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, okay. Tamlin smelled like lilacs and horse pussy or something. I don't know. He had a different odor.
I don't know how to move into the next part of this chapter from there, but
They start fighting.
yes.
Welcome to combat training.
Yeah, with Professor Emiterio. And Violet's thirsty again, with all the men shirtless.
Do you know why they're not wearing shirts?
Friction resistance.
No, you get more friction with no shirt on, I promise. Just rubbing hips.
More nip chafing.
More nip chafing. Put me on the mat, Riorson. No, it's because there's nothing to grab onto if you don't have a shirt on, so it's less efficient for combat. Here's my question. Have we, in these two books of hearing about combat, heard of anybody ripping off their shirt so during hand-to-hand combat there's nothing for them to grab onto?
I mean, while we're at it, why do we need shorts that you can grab those?
To be fair, I would rather support the dangling bits than... You can grab my shorts. If you grab my dick mid-battle, you might have a different fight on your hands. It grows. I have a growing power.
Oh my god. All of a sudden you get ants and you're just like, whoa.
Oh, the magic. Guess you got a second signet. The Venom are like, what the fuck? I just really like your robe. It looks soft. Right over. I like how they explain away the men not wearing shirts. But if it were a life and death battle, the women are still wearing shirts. The same logic doesn't apply to women. It's just so funny to me. Sorry.
Do the women need to be shirtless?
Again, if the logic is you don't want anything for anybody to grab onto in battle, they need to shave all these women's heads and everybody's naked, just fighting it out. Unless you're particularly chesty or long-nippled, then maybe you should be taped up. I'm just saying, you got somebody, rocking a long nip out there. What if somebody reached out and grabbed that puppy?
No more.
Yeah.
So
this is a very
Barlow,
nipple-centric
you gotta
episode.
get out of here. Barlow takes somebody out while fighting. Violet fights. Oh, we do learn.
Breaks his neck.
Yeah. It's
then-
disturbing.
Yeah, what's his name? Not
Professor Emiterio.
Emiterio. Emeterio's like, whoa, I said no murdering people. And he's like, how was I supposed to know his neck was so easy to break? And everybody's like, old Jack.
Barlow with a Russian accent.
Yeah, why? That would be cool. He should have a Russian accent.
It's kind of fitting to survive the way he has and just continue.
I don't know why you hate Russians so much.
I don't. That's not what I meant. It's just when I think of Russians portrayed in TV shows.
Very, very political.
Oh my God. Anyways, Violet fights Imogen. That is who you were thinking of earlier.
Imogen, yeah. Imogen's a homie.
Tries killing Violet.
Yeah. Who hasn't? You know, Violet tries killing Violet. I don't know if you remember. I think everybody tries killing Violet at least once. Ree just wanted to return her shoe. I would like to throw out here. This is also where we hear how Riddick is not an impressive specimen, though. This is where she's like, Riddick's fighting a woman, but it's not bad because they're about the same size. And then that chick just beats the shit out of him.
So in this series, though, women are not less powerful than men.
No,
They can keep up in the ring and fighting throughout this entire year.
Well, okay, yes and no. And this is what I was kind of going to bring up here. I like that it doesn't discriminate male to female as far as strength goes, especially in war, right? Arguably the strongest general, combat-wise, that we know of is Violet's mom.
Yep.
Right? But you don't hear about like a woman fighting Xaden ever, or a woman fighting Dane in the ring ever and being victorious. You hear it with Riddick, and then it's explained that it's okay because they're nearly the same size. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and I
see what you're getting at. I was really surprised with the character we've been introduced to, and it's still very early, so it's a way of continuing to develop Violet as a character, that she would just allow her arm to be snapped in order to prove she just won't give up.
Yeah.
Both times, this really took me by surprise, and it's just another step of her being like, I am a writer. And seeing what her mom sees.
I completely agree. I love that she let it snap. My question is, do you think she let it snap with the knowledge that it would be healed afterward?
I think so.
Not that makes the pain less impressive to go through.
I think she did it not knowing it was going to be fixed.
Okay. Then I think that's worth extra bonus points.
Because she is so used to being in pain. She brings this up often throughout this series. She's like, I am so comfortable being in pain because it's been my entire life.
Consistently uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why I think that she didn't know she was going to be healed. She's like, all right, another injury. We'll get through it.
Yeah. And I think what I enjoyed was, like you said, she fought through it. She's tough, mentally tough. But also, I kind of like the idea that she acknowledges her strengths and her weaknesses. She's like, I'm fast, right? And then when she's got Jack Barlow that she's dealing with, she's like, I may not be as tough as you, but I'm a hell of a lot smarter than you. I'm like, first of all, we don't even know that Jack's an idiot yet. He could be a brilliant asshole at this point, but she's aware.
She speaks to herself in a lot of self-affirmations. She speaks positive to herself as a form of encouragement.
And then she's like, if I wasn't cursed with these bird bones. Like, those are the things we constantly hear, too, where she's like, my pack is super heavy. I shouldn't be carrying all this stuff. And she's like, I got it. And her sister's like, listen, that pack weighs a third as much as you do. No, ma'am. Pack light, and starts throwing her shit away. I don't know.
It seems like it ties back into your theory with the venom taking some life from her. Not life, but why her joints are the way that they are.
Yeah, I think she was in the womb, and I think her mom was getting sucked up by a venom, and then the venom gets murked, and they're like, well, we got some of her hair power and a little bit of bone density. And they were just like, that's fine. It's like, oh no, this girl's going to be afflicted. And they're like, yes, we did it successfully. She'll have osteoporosis at 25. No. All right.
You were ridiculous. That is all that I had for notes. Did you have any other odd ends from reading this 3 times?
I didn't read it 3 times. I would like to point out, I get way more from reading it than I do listening. But I enjoy being able to listen to it more. I think what I really enjoyed was they painted such a picture of what's going on with Bisgayeth. So she's been there, right? She's been living at Bisgayeth for years with her mom.
Yeah.
But she'd never been in this part of it because this was the part that was for the child soldiers.
Cadets.
Basically.
Yeah.
Who are not children. They are adult soldiers. They're for adult soldier college. But I liked the idea that you got a description of where things were, right? Which places led to which things. And then I really liked how she is descriptive of her own thoughts, but she's also super descriptive of what she perceives around her. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just love this series. I have so many good feelings, thoughts, all about it. It's probably going to be very different than the last series in my attitude towards this one, because I just already super happy. 5 chapters in, I'm happy, and this is going to be a comfort read series for me. I see myself reading this series again when the 4th book comes out.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think what's really cool about this, reading this again, you do pick up on the things that you didn't get on your first read through, because partially the second book adding clarity to what was in the first book, right? I assume a third book's going to do the same thing. We're going to hear things that were under wraps for the first 2 books, and then the third book, you're like, oh, fuck, did this go all the way back to book 1? And then you're going to reread
and it will.
2 and 3.
It will go all the way back to book 1.
And how amazing, because then is an area where leaving Akatar, that's not a situation with that.
Next up, we have chapters 6 through, how far are we going?
10.
We are going 5 at a time.
Maybe 12. We'll see if they're long or short chapters. With this series, it's so hard because some of them are very dense. These first 5 chapters are dense.
Yeah, I was so surprised how much information actually was there, and that I wasn't paying attention in the beginning. But it was about 5 chapters in of me just listening to it, falling asleep, and I was hooked. Let's get started on the next several chapters.
Sounds good.
I love you.
I love you.
You're my bestie.
You're my bestie. It was a great time. We had fun. Now get out and go live your life.
No, wait. No. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate and love you all. Please follow us here, TikTok or Instagram at Yarros.Podcast.
And then go live your life.
Bye.
Bye. Get out. We're done. This was Daggers and Shadow Daddies. Now it's my time. Toodaloo. It was fun for us. I hope it was fun for you. But that's all we've got. Goodbye. Come back in a few days. We love you.